Psychotherapy helps you understand your story, your family system, and your role in all of that. You can both have had trauma in your life and ignite a life of mastery.
Lisa Pepper-Satkin is an executive therapeutic coach.
She blends psychotherapy with coaching to help leaders unlock their full potential.
When people come to work with me, I help them understand how they got to where they are today, but also about what's next in your beautiful life.
How is therapy different from coaching?
Let's think of both as these big, beautiful trees with all of these branches off of the trees.
All right. Welcome back to Flip Your Mindset, guys. I am your host, Stacey Urich, and today's guest is Lisa Pepper-Satkin. And I'm so excited to have Lisa because not only is Lisa a psychotherapist, she's also a coach. And so what we're going to really talk today about is what is the difference between therapy and coaching? Because I think that more and more coaches are starting to come out of the woodwork and people get confused about who they should work with and what the different methods are and why Lisa actually has a fusion of both in her practice. So welcome, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good, Stace. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I sort of want to interview you because you have such a wealth of information and knowledge, but we'll do that privately, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe we'll come in and you'll ask me on my own podcast and we'll switch roles. How much fun would that be?
Oh, let's do that.
I'm down.
I am too. I'm down.
I think that would be a lot of fun. So anyway, Lisa, how long have you been a psychotherapist? How long ago were you trained in that?
Oh my gosh, I have been licensed for, I think, almost 30 years now.
Okay.
I can't even believe I'm saying that number. But I think I started really my passion in this whole field when I was 10. Because when I was 10, I asked to go see a therapist. And so that's 50 years I have known the value of the inside world and the way it impacts our external relationships and lives.
What year would that have been when you were 10 years old?
Okay, so I was born in 1964. I'm almost 60. I just love that number. So that was 1974. And wow. I have a lovely therapy story. So I would go to therapy and I would stop and I would pick up donuts before each session. And my therapist and I would eat donuts. She would then smoke a cigarette. That's what people did.
1974, yeah.
And then her dog would stand up literally at 10 to the hour, and you knew your session was over.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she was so cool. She drove this lime green Porsche. She always promised she would give that to me, but she forgot to.
So I started therapy I can never remember if it was 13 or 15, but I always say 15, but in my heart, I feel like it was 13. So it was somewhere in that realm, like it was 10 years after you. I would say it was 1985, 1986. So what was it in 1974 that caused you to seek out that kind of support?
I don't know if I've talked about this story on a podcast yet, but here we go. So hold on, everyone, get ready. My mother married my brother's therapist. So for anyone out there who doesn't know the ethics and the morals of the sacred psychotherapeutic or therapeutic relationship is like, that is the number one ethical violation. First of all, you can't sleep with your clients, and anyone who does that really should be banned from being a therapist because it's so unethical. But to marry your own child's therapist is so messed up that the older I get and the wiser I get and the more tuned in I am as a mother, I realize it was like just pure trauma for my poor brother. But then here's the thing. You can point to his trauma, But the vicarious traumatization that happened in my young life, because I knew, like, I'm 10 and I'm like, is anybody around me seeing how messed up this is, including my own therapist? I don't know.
So let's back this up a little bit. So were your parents divorced?
Yes, my parents got divorced, but that was because my mother had an affair with this therapist.
Okay. So your brother's in therapy for his own reasons. Your mother starts having an affair with the therapist. I want people to understand why it's unethical. I understand why it's unethical, but let's
That's a
spell it out.
wonderful way to stop. Okay. So my brother, let's just imagine my brother's this little boy, and he goes and talks to this man, and this man is the keeper of his secrets.
Correct.
In a safe place.
Correct.
And that's what we want therapy to be. It's a conversation that you don't have with anybody else. That's a very different and wonderful distinction between therapy and coaching, right? A coaching conversation may be more public, may be more motivational, may be strategic. The boundaries are different in a coaching relationship. In a therapeutic relationship, it is sacred. It is sealed. Confidentiality is by far the most important aspect. So all of a sudden, this sacred, safe place, the doors are blown open, and that man is now sleeping with the person that you may have been talking
about. Yeah. So what people all actually say this. So the people that developed my coaching school where I was certified are all trained therapists. So actually, we have a set of protocols and procedures that we have to follow that is much more in alignment with therapy, in the sense that our conversations are to be completely sacred and confidentiality is of the utmost held, aspect, right? Because here's the thing, if you're dealing with trauma, because especially, my specialty as a coach is trauma, safety and security may have never felt available to this person. And so creating an environment where there can be a sense of, this is a safe place for me to share something maybe I've never shared before, must be of one of the utmost principles that we carry through our organization. So I was trained more in that light.
Yes,
right?
I'm so glad you said that, because I didn't mean to be disrespectful in any way.
No, I just want people to know.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful distinction, and also the key to your success in your practice too is the amount of work you've done on yourself.
Oh, God.
So you know how sacred that relationship and dynamic is.
Right. So imagine, to your point, your brother, and I don't say this lightly, has gained the courage to talk to someone. Kudos to your brother. And now there has to be a part of your brother is like, is anything that I said sacred, safe, confidential, kept to me? Okay. So we understand that. And you clearly, as a 10-year-old, can see already that that's, excuse me, but I curse all the time. That's super fucked up.
I felt it.
Because you knew. I mean, look, it's not that complicated, right? It's pretty simple. So even if a 10-year-old can see, this kind of really errs on the side of wrong on so many different levels.
It just is wrong. It just is wrong.
Right.
There's no two ways about it.
So you start going to therapy. And like yourself, I said I started going early too. I didn't know what therapy was in the 80s. I certainly didn't know anybody in therapy other than my grandmother. I didn't know anybody my age in therapy, because 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s, therapy still set aside for people who are really super messed up, right? And so I didn't feel really super messed up. What I felt was, and to your point, is anybody else seeing this? That was the reason why I was going to therapy, because I knew I was in an environment that was so dysfunctional but yet was being presented as super functional. And it made me feel like I was the problem, or I was making it into something bigger than it was, or I was exacerbating the situation, which I knew I wasn't, but I was being told I was. And so I really desperately needed to be able to share with one person what it was that I was seeing, feeling, hearing, experiencing, and to hear from somebody else, I hear you, I see you, I get it, versus being told that's ridiculous. You're not seeing it the right way, or you don't know what you're talking about. Because I knew I did. So therapy, for those, how would you describe to the audience the definition of therapy, and how is therapy different, in your opinion, from coaching?
Right. And then let's think of both as these big, beautiful trees with all of these branches off of the tree. So there's so many different styles of therapy and so many different schools of coaching and so many different practitioners. So this is a very, very general description, right? Psychotherapy helps you understand historically your story, your family system, and your role in all of that, your position in all of that. And it's funny because I'm looking to the left. It's like, that is your past. It helps you understand how you've come into who you are today based on what you were told, what you saw, what you thought, what was right, what was wrong, your culture, your ethnicity, your neighborhood, your socioeconomic status, right? All of that is discoverable in psychology, psychotherapy, sitting with a licensed and trained therapist, right? We have, I think, 3,500 hours of almost pretty much free work in order to get to licensure.
Mm-hmm.
And coaching, the way I see coaching and the way that I have woven in coaching is it's a strategic approach to go to where you want to get to. This next goal, how to make a difference in your life or lives of others, people who work for you, people who are around you, your kids, loved ones, people who engage with you to get out of their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that I think you and I do that's beautiful is this wonderful blend of both.
Mm-hmm.
And I really respect all of the work that you've done on yourself and all of your training. And so it's not, I don't think one is bad and one is good. I don't think one is better than the other. I think you have to know yourself well enough and know what it is that you want to create next in your life. And I got here because I was doing kind of traditional psychotherapy work. And then I had the wonderful pleasure of working with people who were really ready to really ignite their own mastery. You know, this is this new phrase that I'm loving using because it's, you know, mastery is when you do something with ease and flow. And I'm really working with people on both, and you can both have had trauma in your life and ignite a life of mastery. It actually, they go very well together.
Yeah.
So when people come to work with me, I help them understand how they got to where they are today. But we don't just stay there and sit there and perseverate there. It's also about what's next in your beautiful life.
It's funny. People who listen to me know I practice something called rapid transformational therapy with clients that want to go down that route. And there is a very systemic method to rapid transformational therapy. And one of the things that we really dive into is, what would life look like without the problem? What would life look like without this barrier or this hurdle that's been stopping you because of what the profound impact was of whatever the experience or experiences were that you had in your past, right? Is now kind of a barrier, block, hurdle to where you want to be. And we spend a lot of time talking about what life could look like if I was able to say, feel confident, because maybe that's the aftermath of their trauma, that they lack confidence or they lack a voice or they lack self-esteem or they don't feel worthy or they don't feel lovable, right? What would life look like if you did feel that way? If you did believe this about yourself, if it was embodied? And one of the things that we do to try to figure that out, because some people have never had access to that. I very often say, I don't know what I like because I don't even know who I am. Because they've now learned they deprioritized all their needs and all their wants very early on to just feel safe or secure within their family. So just being able to not have to put somebody else first to make sure that they are going to be accepted in and to actually get to dream a little bit about what it would look like. Sometimes they literally don't even know what they like or what they want. So we spend a lot of time there. But then once they can figure that out and we're able to get that into this transformational therapy session, I actually create a meditation based on it. And I give that to them after the hypnosis. And I ask them to listen to this guided meditation for 3 weeks minimum, as much as they can, to kind of reprogram. It's like a neuroscience, reprogram and rewire the mind and the brain for a new set of thoughts and suggestions that lead to what you're talking about, that next step. Like, what is it that you do want? When that trigger comes up, how do you want to react? How do you want to feel? How do you want to perceive that, interpret that? Right? And then we continue to coach based on what came out in that hypnosis session, based on that life without the problem goal meditation. And then we kind of use that as like the launching pad to continue our work. So like you said, we don't stay in the muck. We open it up and see it in a safe environment to get a better understanding of the impact it had on us today, but that we have the choice to reframe how we interpreted that experience and create a new narrative that's much more in alignment with where they are today in life.
So great, Stace. I love collaborating with you and I love referring people to you, and what you're doing is incredible.
So tell me how you work with someone. I really want to use today's session as a way to get people curious. Maybe somebody's listening that's never asked for help. They've never sought out additional support. They've never worked with a therapist. And I guess here's a question I have, because this might be a question someone has. Is there a difference between a psychotherapist and a therapist?
No, but a psychotherapist, you know, if you're talking to a psychotherapist, they're licensed.
Okay.
Anyone can, I mean, there are lots of different therapists, physical therapist, occupational therapist, you know, body psychotherapy, not body, that's psychotherapy, but
like a somatic therapist.
So that's, you know, there isn't necessarily licensure behind their name. There may be certification and a lot of work and a lot of hours, but not licensing. There's not a board behind them that regulates what's going on.
So again, for the benefit of the audience, so you've got people who can get a master's in social work, and then you have people who are licensed clinical social workers, correct?
Yes, and that means they've done all of those hours of work with a supervisor and in training and with clients in order to be licensed.
Right. And is it also fair to say they have to continue to keep up with that?
Yes, we have to do our continuing education work and all of our training, and you know, the licensing board oversees us.
So, how did you decide as a licensed clinical therapist to incorporate coaching in? What did you feel was missing that was not as beneficial for your client or the way you wanted to practice?
I think it's simply in how I language what I do, because I was working with people who were doing really well. And then they were going to a whole other level of life. And I was watching them like exceed their wildest dreams or goals or vision. And someone said to me, "You're not just a therapist. It's like you're an executive therapeutic coach," right? And so that term fit for a long time. It's just now beginning to not fit. And I think there's something about this word mastery that is next, but is the same thing. It's like helping people ignite their inner wisdom, quiet the bully and the things they've been told or thought that aren't really them. It's not their truth, that they've been handed it. It's trauma related. And I'm working with people who have already done really that first level of work on themselves. And, I work with very successful people. I mean, I certainly have programs for people who are just coming into the body of work, but that's less of what I do because I'm experienced and skilled, and people invest a lot of time, money, and energy in working with someone like me who has a certain level of expertise. But I love the beginning conversations too. And then, people can come into my understanding of things with like all my free tools I have. It's a really good way to start to get to know yourself. And then I can also refer people to other people who would be a good fit. But this higher level of work that I'm doing is with people who really know themselves and are ready to go beyond their wildest dreams,
I love that. And I want to end that here, but I want people to know that I'm going to be bringing Lisa back. And we're going to have another conversation. And this one's going to be on one particular deep level. I have a couple of different ideas that we're going to talk about. But Lisa, if people want to get to know more about how you work or what you do, how would they best find you?
Go to my website and fill out the contact form. I will contact you. I just cannot believe how many times I offer this. And I'm inviting people to take me up on it. I'll have a conversation with you. I'll be able to guide you very quickly in the best direction for you to get exactly the life you want.
And guys, Lisa's website is going to be in the show notes, obviously, along with all of her social media handles. But just for people that are listening and want to type in, it's lisapeppersatkin.com. Okay. And you're going to find her at Lisa Pepper-Satkin on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. She's like me. She keeps it really simple. And again, she has courses. She has things you can listen to. You definitely want to go to her website. But again, all the links will be in the show notes. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it.